Hello. Well, sorry, it's been a little while since I've uploaded some videos, but life has been crazy, as usually happens with these things. We've got some cats, some rescue cats that we weren't kind of planning on getting, but they sort of came up. You know what happens sometimes. So they've taken up quite a bit of time as well, and I had quite a few other bits and bobs going on. School holidays is always fun, and kids go back to school this week as well, so it's all been a bit hectic. But anyway, doesn't matter about that. What's been going on running wise? Well, quite a lot, to be quite honest. So the biggest one probably is my first ever proper race. I say race, event I prefer to say, because like you say you went to a race, people are like, oh, did you win then? Well, no, because there's like 12,000 people. So I did the London Vitality Big Half in London, obviously. First time I've ever done a proper event like that, and it was a bit of a baptism of fire, to be quite honest, going all the way to London for it, where there are actually local events I probably could have done instead. But as you may remember, I signed up for the Vitality Big Half, I think November last year. Again, not really knowing what was going to happen at that point. So how was it? Well, we'll talk about the event first, the atmosphere, and then I'll let you know how I got on. So in terms of times and all the rest of it. So, wow, all I can say is it was good. It was really good. So turned up, wasn't really sure what to expect. I actually ended up going with 3 other members of my running club, which was really nice. So one of them drove. Again, I had to get up at like 4:30 in the morning, left at 5. Got there fairly early, but it wasn't actually that early. Once you get to the bag drop your bags off, go to the toilet, go to the toilet again, and then we kind of wandered over to the start line. Now, previously we were told that there were different waves that would go sort of 10-minute intervals, so wave A, B, C, D, etc. So I was wave F. So I wasn't expecting to go till a bit later, but we got kind of near the start line, and then they were just saying, look, just go, don't worry about your wave, just go in the next wave if you want to. So me and the person I was with, we were just like, shall we do it then? I'm like, well, yeah, what are we going to hang around and wait for otherwise? So we did it. Now, I took a bit of a gamble with this as well, because normally whenever I do my long runs or anything like that, to be honest, anything over a 10k, I will always bring a running pack with me. So I've got kind of, Tailwind mixed in 500ml bottles, either side on my vest here, water in the back from my bladder, all my revies and stuff on there, like my energy strips, keys, wallet, all that. It's a lot easier. So I kind of took a risk this time. So a little while ago, I bought marathon shorts, they're called, from Decathlon. So basically they have quite a few pockets. They have a zip pocket at the front, zip pocket at the back, and a few side pockets as well. What I want to do at some point is do like a kit video and show you some of the bits and bobs I use. But anyway, so I decided for my nutrition I was just going to get, I have a small 250ml soft flask now, so I filled that with concentrated Tailwind, which, as you probably know, is is what I use instead of gels. So there's about 4 scoops in that. Normally you'd have 2 scoops to 500ml, so it's a bit of a stronger tasting mix. So the idea was I would just drink that a little bit as I went round, and then top up with water from the aid stations. Now the aid stations were really good. They were, if I remember off the top of my head, they were at mile 3, mile 6, mile 8 that wasn't water, that was like Lucozade Sport, I think, if I remember correctly. And then mile 10 was the final water stop. And that actually worked really quite well. I was surprised, actually. So what I did is, normally I wouldn't take water on until about an hour in. So what I did this time is I kind of planned a bit more. So I literally took water at every single aid station, whether I was necessarily that thirsty or not. So the first aid station I only took, and they were small bottles as well. They're only 250ml bottles, which at first I thought, oh, that's a bit weird. But then I probably could do with 500ml. But actually I then noticed that people were taking 2 bottles sometimes. So first aid station I took 1 bottle, and then the next 2 with the waters I took 2 bottles, and that was really handy because they're quite small, those bottles. You can sort of drink one, chuck it into the proper recycle receptacles, of course, and then you can't even keep the other one for a little while and sort of walk around with that and sort of carry on running with that. So that was really good actually. So that actually worked really well. I was a bit nervous, and I was up till about 1 o'clock in the morning, I think. I'm in an iron about what to do, and the night before I didn't sleep well at all. I was absolutely shattered. And in the end I thought, well, at the end I'm in a race. I'm at a proper event with water and everything else. I don't want to be lugging all that water around with me because it's going to slow me down, and it's nice, you know, to experience these things as they're supposed to be. So that worked really well actually. I was really pleased with that. Really happy with how that went, and that's something I would definitely do going forward. If I ever do a full marathon event again, might need to look at that. May need to bring 2 bottles of water for my tailwind, but again, we'll sort that out. That's fine. So that was all good. In terms of the crowd, people say, oh yeah, you know, the crowd keeps you going, the crowd keeps you going. There wasn't a huge crowd, if I'm perfectly honest, and I think a lot of the reason behind that is that I'd never heard of the Vitality Big Half until I got an email about it last year saying, did I want to enter? And obviously, you know, everyone's heard of the London Marathon. So I think publicity-wise, it's just not as well known, and therefore there's not as many people crowding around. A lot of the time we were running, there was maybe a few people at the roadside. Again, apparently this is similar when you go to on the full London Marathon. Around Canary Wharf, it gets very quiet and not a lot going on there really either. But that being said, for me, I almost felt like the other runners were more of a motivation because, I don't know, you're sort of going along and it's like a pack mentality, isn't it? You've got a load of people running, you kind of feel the need to keep running. And yeah, it just really helped me. It's almost like all I've got to do is just sort of keep up with these people, and you know, eventually you sort of get into a quite a good pace, and you kind of almost match yourself up with someone just in front of you, and you say, well, I'm going at this pace, they're going at that pace, I'm just almost going to kind of follow them and see how we go. But you know, that chops and changes over time as well. So in terms of race strategy and that, it went really well. I enjoyed the event. The course was good. Not too many uphills, a few little uphills at the beginning and then near the end. But you know, it's London at the end of the day, and London's pretty flat anyway. So that was absolutely fine. Yeah, so that was that. And very funny thing as well. So my running cap that I wear now, I used to have that Under Armour one. I now wear a Ben Parks cap. Now, I don't know if you know, Ben Parks is a YouTuber. He's a very, very good runner. Anyway, so I had a problem getting running caps to fit me because I never thought I had a big head, but apparently I do, because all the ones I bought were too small. So anyway, I bought the Under Armour one. That was okay, but it's a bit loose. So someone recommended the Ben Parks caps to me. So I went on his online store. It was about 25 quid. I thought, oh, that's a bit expensive for a hat. But I bought one anyway, and I thought, well, if I'm wearing his cap, I should probably subscribe to his YouTube channel and at least watch some of his videos. Otherwise, it looks a bit stupid. If I'm just wearing, it's like wearing a band t-shirt and not listening to the band, which I know some people do. But don't get me started on that. That's a completely different subject. So anyway, yeah, I watched his videos. Quite like them. They're all right, you know. I do watch them, but again, he's so far ahead of me that I don't really relate to him that much, and I would much rather watch stuff like Running Channel and things like that, which I think is aimed more at my level. But it's good to watch and it's interesting, and you say, oh, he seems like a really nice guy, and you can pick up some few pointers. So anyway, I digress. So I'm wearing my Ben Parks hat, running along in the race, and it's about 800 meters to go, and about that point there was lots of crowds. So, you know, less than a mile to go, a lot more crowds started to gather near the finish line and all that. So I'm running along, and quite far into the distance, you know, you sort of looking around. At that point I didn't even have my headphones on. I was just to be honest, I didn't really use my headphones at all in the whole race. I was just kind of in the zone, pushing through, which I'll talk about a bit more in a minute. So anyway, far off in the crowd, I'm running like this, and I spot someone sort of, and he's got a lady next to him, and he sort of leans down towards her, sort of pointing at me and sort of smiling. I'm like, what's he pointing at me for? I thought, oh, he's looking at my hat. And then, of course, I realised it's Ben Parks. So he's actually in the crowd, and he wanted my hat. So by this point, I'm practically level with him. Like, he's to my side, so I literally, and I was right sort of on the side of the road as well, as you know, fortune would have it. So I just managed to turn around and go, like, from somewhere, go, Ben Parks, yay! As I ran past, because if it hadn't been so near to the end, I probably would have maybe stopped and said hi properly, but at the same time, you know, but I was near the end. I was worried if I stopped, I wouldn't start again. And I also think Ben would probably feel bad for, again, this is in hindsight, I guess I thought that. Ben would probably feel bad as well that he, perhaps, you know, maybe get a worse time because I stopped to say hi. So I just gave a little thumbs up, hi, and then off we go. So anyway, it turns out later, it transpired that actually he ran the race as well, like near the beginning, obviously. So obviously he'd finished at that point and gone into the crowd because I watched the video and I commented, and he actually commented back, say, oh, yeah, well done. So that was funny. Just really one of those bizarre moments where I was just like, what is he pointing at me for? Oh, the hat. Oh, that's because it's him. All right. Yeah, so that was really funny, and that, I don't know, that gave me a little bit of a boost right towards the end. I was like, oh, that was cool. That was a cool exchange. Let's crack on and do this. And at the end, you'll filter through, and you get your bag and your t-shirt and your medal and everything. That was all really good. A brilliant experience. I said the crowd was slightly lacking, I thought, for me, but again, it's not a massively high-profile event, and perhaps COVID has not helped. Maybe a lot of people still feel a bit uneasy about going out and, you know, congregating in crowds. So fair enough. But it was brilliant and I really enjoyed it. So that's my experience of it. How did I get on? Well, I'll let you know. So I don't think I've actually done a video since I got a different marathon PB. But anyway, so basically, I think the last video I did was the Colchester Orbital, and then I did like the breakdown of it, didn't I? Well, shortly after that, I did another long run, and on that, I got another marathon PB. So previously, my marathon PB was 2:38 something. Then I got a new PB of 2:33.24 or something, I think it was, and that had been that was basically my marathon PB going into the race. So I said to myself, right, okay. So people always say to you when you're, you know, going in for an event like that, you should have like a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. So plan A is like, what would you absolutely love to do? Plan B is, if you can't do that, what would be like, you know, your second best ideal, and then plan C is like, you know, what's your last resort. So plan A, bearing in mind my time was 2:30, my PB was 2:33, I said to myself, right, I want to get under, I would love to get 2 hours 20 minutes. For me, that would be really good. So I was like, okay, I'll try that then. So that was plan A, and that would be my wildest dreams. I would get 2:20. I knew I'd definitely have to go some to do that. It's quite a big, you know, there's a lot off what I've done previously, but it's physically possible. I don't think it's impossible for me to do, but it would be very difficult. The second one was then 2:25 would be quite nice. Failing that, under 2.5 hours. And then plan D, technically, is just finish the bloody thing. So those were my goals. Early on, I started off, and I thought I'd gone off perhaps a little bit too quickly. So I was running with a lady that came with me, Jen. We kind of did about the first 2 miles together, and then it had a bit of a steep incline. And she sort of backed off a bit, and I was thinking to myself, I'm probably going a bit fast, but I feel okay. So I was doing around I was doing under 11-minute miles basically, which I knew is what I would need to do to get 220. I don't know, it just felt good. I think like I said, not really the crowd, but just the atmosphere, the other runners, not having all my water and stuff on me, the fact that I had tapered very slightly for the event. So basically the event was on a Sunday, and the week before I did my long run on the Friday, and then I didn't do a long run on the week building up to it, because I thought, well, you know, if I do a hard effort half marathon, that's going to be essentially like my long run for the week. And I just did a couple of short, easy runs the week leading up to it. So I'd done a mini taper as well, which I think probably helped, and everything else. So I was running along, I was doing really well. Like I said, the water thing was working out well, and it got to just over an hour in, and I was doing really well, to be quite honest. I was way ahead of what I'd planned to do. Interestingly as well, someone said to me, I'd read somewhere, they said when you're doing an event, don't have auto lap on your watch. So normally have an auto lap, so every mile it comes up, tells me how fast I've gone. With this, they say do a manual, so every time you hit a mile marker on the course, do the lap. So I was doing that. That was a really good idea. Because as well, about the third and fourth mile, the GPS went a bit mental on my watch as well, because you're in Canary Wharf, lots of big buildings in close proximity, and that messed things up a bit. So anyway, I was doing well, and I went to reach in to get my caffeine strip, because I'm going to take another caffeine strip after an hour, and my caffeine strips weren't there. What had happened is I'd been messing around with my bottle with my tailwind in, and I hadn't put my Revy strips away properly, and they'd fallen out of my pocket, God knows when. And I was like, oh sugar. So, and it's really weird, I started to do that and I almost felt my heart drop, and then I saw my pace start to drop as well on my watch, and I was like, what am I doing? I don't need these caffeine strips. Alright, they might help a bit, but they're not the be all and end all. They're not essential. It's not gonna, you know, make me 2 minutes a mile faster or slower if I do or don't have them. And I just pushed on, and I maintained that pace. I hardly walked at all. I think I walked, there was a couple of little inclines, but I walked a little bit just to save my legs. And the last water station, I got my water, I drank both of them while walking, put them away, and then I was like, right, 3 miles to go, boom, and that's it. So I would say I probably walked for less than a minute out of the whole event, which is really good. So anyway, enough teasing you. What time did I get? Well, in the end, I clocked in a rather impressive time of 2:18:32. That's my official time. My time on my watch was 1 second slower, because again, literally all I did was just start, stop. According to the watch, I did an extra half a mile as well, which was funny. So I had loads of apparently supposed PBs trying to come up on Garmin Connect that I had to decline because they weren't real. It's where the sat nav had messed up, and it worked out at one point. Apparently I did 4-minute miles for 2 miles, which, yeah, I wish. So I absolutely shattered my greatest expectations of what I would do. I don't quite know what happened. I think it's the excitement, the adrenaline, the slight taper, not having all my gear on me, just everything combined. The fact that I didn't have those caffeine strips for the last hour and a bit as well didn't seem to matter. So I'm so pleased with that. So pleased. Yeah. So wow. So that is bear in mind I've probably taken about 15 minutes or something stupid off my marathon PB. Mental. So I'm absolutely ecstatic about that. So happy. And yeah, it's just an amazing day. Just brilliant. I was so happy. So there we go. That was it. That was the Vitality Big Half. I didn't take much footage while I was there, purely because I was just really in the zone and running, and I didn't want to mess things up and drop my phone or something like that. But there's what I'll do is at the end of this video, I'll just post up, there's a couple of very small video clips I took, and then there's the official race photos as well, and a couple of selfies or whatever that I took. So I'm going to stick them on at the end, just so you can have a little bit of an idea of what it was like. I do look quite horrific in some of the race photos, and you can't see me that well in some of them, purely because I think the angles and that, he was obviously photographing someone who looked better than me. But yeah, so there we go. I've got a few other updates as well in terms of how I'm getting on for my marathon training, but this video is like 20 minutes, over 20 minutes already, so I don't want you guys to fall asleep. So I will put them in a different video. All right, but thanks for watching, everyone. All 20 of you, I think. Received some comments recently, which is really nice. I also had a few people ask about my Strava profile, so I will put a link in the description to my Strava profile, so you can follow me on Strava if you so wish. Cheers, everyone, and hopefully you see me very soon. Bye.
Other people from around the country, around London, welcome to you, enjoy your day.
The toilet queue for the ladies, and no queue for the blokes. This is Tower Bridge in the background.